What advice would you give to visitors, since I mean, you know this territory like the back of your hands, and we can all rely on your word. When people call you, what advice would you give them to ensure, just a positive experience?
Well, one of the nice features of Half Moon Bay is that we can accommodate the whole family. A lot of times the wives don't necessarily want to go with the husbands to go fishing, so there's plenty of other opportunities on the shore for them. There's a lot of great boutique kinds of shopping. There's a stable there where you can rent horses and ride along the beach. The very diverse area for the whole family. One of the advantages of Half Moon Bay over the boats up in the San Francisco Bay Area is that they have to travel across the bay just to get to the ocean, whereas for us, less than 5 minutes from the berth, we are out in the ocean. And because we are 25 miles south of San Francisco in the state of California, which is why we have the largest run of salmon on the West Coast now. The only other stream that really was comparable was the Columbia. But with all the dams and everything on the Columbia, their watershed has been severely restricted. Whereas for us, the Sacramento River, the American River, all the rivers that feed into the Sacramento um, are all come out underneath the Golden Gate, and so there's a tremendous influence of that water in our area. The Sacramento River, basically it brings a lot of silt and stuff down, and that has settled out over the years to form a lot of bars around the San Francisco area. For us, we are just outside of that influence, so we have a tremendous amount of good bottom structure for fishing for rockfish, for groundfish, rock cod, ling cod, and so we have a very diverse fishery out of Half Moon Bay, in that less than 10 minutes from the harbor, we have good bottom structure that we can fish. Generally, for our rock fishing, we fish anywhere from 10 minutes outside the harbor to hour, maybe an hour and a half running, depending upon where we want to go. But all through that area is a tremendous amount of good shale structure, rock structure. We have a great coastal fishery. We have a beautiful coast along Half Moon Bay, with Pescadero being one of my favorite spots to fish. Off Martin's Beach is another very, very good area to fish. Just outside of the harbor is an area that was originally called Three Rocks. There were three big rocks on the beach, but they have since built a Ritz Carlton on shore at that point. So we no longer call it the fishing at Three Rocks. We now call it fishing at the Ritz. And there's a lot of really good shallow water light tackle fishing all through that area, Pescadero as well. But we also have an area outside of our harbor called the Deep Reef. Deep Reef is about 7.5, 8 miles to about 9 miles, 9.5 miles offshore. Deep Reef is probably about overall about 5 miles long by about 2 miles wide, where there's a lot of good bottom structure, which is where I have basically made my livelihood since I've been in Half Moon Bay since 1985. I started out fishing with mostly with a rock cod back at that time. They, there's for the fishing. Fishing is very diverse for us. A lot of times in the spring, we fish for salmon, as the salmon is one of our primary fisheries. It's and in the spring, the fish are right off of Half Moon Bay. So for us, again, it's maybe an hour running to get to the fishery from the berth, whereas boats from the city have to traverse 20 plus miles to get down to where the main schools of the fish are, which are off of Half Moon Bay. Our salmon fishing overall has been extremely good. Last year was probably the best year I think I've ever seen for the salmon fishery. And I've been doing this since 1971, working on boats. Back then it was a deckhand. And the salmon fishery overall has been extremely healthy. And with a limit of 2 fish per person, many days we catch limits of salmon for our passengers. And they also, occasionally catch me one as well. And we troll for salmon. With the trolling, we kind of have a unique way of catching salmon in the Bay Area here, in that when we're trolling, it's about a walk's pace through the water, and we're trolling with, pardon me, anywhere from 1.5 pound lead weights up to 4 pounds of lead weights, depending upon how deep the fish are. Standard weights for us are 2.5 pounds. And when you hook a fish, you lose the weight. So it's just you and the fish, and not having to fight the weight. Because a lot of times the salmon are very strong, aggressive, and hard fighting fish. These fish can, and salmon have kind of a soft mouth, so you kind of be careful. You can't thumb your spool, because you'll pull the hook out of the fish. But they are very good, hard, tenacious fighting fish. And the schools of fish that we have are king salmon. In our area, we catch the Chinook, the king salmon, and overall, the salmon fishery has been extremely healthy for us. Yes, we have good years and bad years, and a lot of that is drought dependent. But as I said, last year had to be probably the best year that I think I've seen for salmon fishing. We had many days we were coming in with a 20-pound average on the fish. Last year we probably had 15 to 20 fish in the 30-pound class, and probably another 8 to 10 fish that were in the 40-pound class. Now, 40-pound salmon is a monster. Let me tell you, that is one big, mean animal. Is a tremendous fight, tremendous sport to catch these fish. I think overall, and I've fished all around the world for marlin, wahoo, dorado, mai, tuna. The salmon, I think, are one of the best sporting fish to catch, because of their tenacity for fighting, and it is a tremendous fish to catch.